All right, cool. So, 1 minute, we'll start letting folks in. Yeah. I think we were, last week was Easter. I think we were, hey, how's
Hey,
everybody doing?
kids.
Good to
Let me
see
put my
y'all.
glasses on. Ah. Wow. John Ross. How you doing, brother?
Welcome back. Welcome back. Good to see everyone.
Gallery. Wow. Look at all these
Okay.
guys.
Yeah. Okay, I am going to bring up, wow, there's two Glenn Harts with this interesting golden piano icon he has, which is kind of fun.
I wrapped a piano in gold one time,
Yeah?
a couple of years ago. Yeah.
What, what,
Um,
what, it, what does it mean to wrap it in gold?
well, do you know about wraps? They wrap cars. No, it's
Oh, yeah.
some kind of vinyl, very strong, that you can, it costs about a quarter of a good paint job, and you can do it in a day or two. You just wrap the car. But these guys needed a gold piano in like 5 days from this big celebrity fundraiser. So I thought, wow, we could wrap it. I never thought about it. We could wrap a piano because I'd just seen this car show where they wrapped this Corvette and it looked killer. Um, So we did. We wrapped it, and it was a huge success. Looked
Oh,
great
wow.
too. A gold, shiny gold piano. Ooh,
Very cool. Should
cheesy,
we, uh,
but cool.
should we get rolling here? Should I do the intro?
Yeah,
Let's rock and
absolutely.
roll. All right. Well, welcome everyone to Piano Tech Radio Hours, being brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses. Let's make sure everybody mutes themselves. I'm getting somebody's like moving a piece of furniture or something.
I'm sorry.
Let me see if I can figure that out. Here we go. All right, everybody else is muted now. All right, let me start over. Welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour. This is being brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, an online educational resource that offers you cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. You could find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. We just had our second official online convention a few weeks back, around March 18th to the 20th. Make sure we'll add some links in the chat where you can go and follow up and purchase direct access to any of those lectures. We'll also send out some emails in the coming weeks with a few tips from each lecture, just to let you know what's been happening inside behind the curtain, so you can better make a decision whether you'd like to gain access. So yeah, and then today it's going to be a return to our roots here. David and I are going to do a host session today, and we'll kind of talk about what's at top of mind for us, but also open it up to you folks. If anybody has a topic that they think is worthy of kind of a
That's
group
right.
roundtable, feel free to pop it in the chat and let us know any questions you've been having on your mind about, what are other piano technicians doing? What should I do with this or that? Be it, specific technical issues or business issues or, quarantine issues. All those things are fair game. So, yeah, welcome. But David, I think you and I were chatting a little bit
Yep,
beforehand.
we
The
were.
first thing that comes to the top of my mind that you said was a good topic, which I also agree is just a good general topic, and that is doing things that you're afraid of. I like that topic a lot. I think I like it out of having to like it instead of hating it, right? It's easy to be afraid of things that you're afraid of. And I think it maybe takes a little bit of uh, emotional, mental kung fu to kind of get excited about doing things that might be a little bit scary. And I think when we're talking about that in this context, it comes down to uh, doing those things to make yourself a better professional that also are things that are a little bit scary. Be that, attempting to do work that you haven't done before, or even as something that I find really simple that I know is difficult for a lot of people is not being afraid to like take a few minutes, for example, and this doesn't apply to everybody here, but it could apply to some people. Just take a few minutes to practice your temperament skills by ear, even if you use an ETD at the front of each tuning. And why is that scary? Well, it's scary because, what if I run out of time? What if that turns out to be a waste, or I regret it, or something like that? But
What if I suck worse than I thought I did?
yeah, what if I'm actually terrible at it and I have to face that? Yeah, even those little things, and going, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. And of course, you don't just do things. You don't have to jump off a cliff because you're afraid of it, right? You do those things which have some productive potential. So, yeah, what do you have to say about that, David?
Well, I'll just get personal and embarrassingly vulnerable right now. Um, I have been, since I first came upon them, terrified of doing damper work. I mean, like some irrational fear of working on dampers. And I've gone through the fear to a certain degree. But if it's between me and anybody else working on dampers, it's the other person, because I'm still terrified of it. Still, to this day, I just I'm it's an irrational fear. I'm so afraid that I'll mess them up, and then I'll blow the job and make the player sad, and you know start lashing myself for being an idiot. That I just stay away from it. If my, for instance, my partner Nick Morello does virtually all the damper work because I freaks me out. So I would say that I'm a partial. I know enough to put in a set of dampers and regulate them, but it takes me a long time. I'm not having a good time because I have this irrational fear. Really try to stay in the moment. Really try to just breathe and stay here. And I've done an okay job of it. On a 1 to 10 scale, I'm at about a 6 or 6.5. So, but breaking through that and being able to do at least an acceptable job doing something that I was literally terrified of, that's pretty good. So I'd love examples from people. I'm going to make you work, people, today. Just raise your hand, and um, Ethan will unmute you and talk about something you're afraid to do or have been afraid to do. Who's got Who's got something for me? Come on, kids.
I'll give a short countdown and then I'll say something to lead the pack here.
Okay.
Oh, Donna Bird has raised
All
her
right, Donna
hand. So
Bird.
I'll save mine. I'll save mine
Yeah.
for a minute. So yeah, go ahead and unmute yourself, Donna. We're happy to hear from you. Yeah, you should be able to just click on the microphone. There you go.
There you go.
I was terrified of going from a regular screwdriver to an electric one.
Darling, we can't see your face. Put your
Oh, yeah.
camera up a little bit so we can see your face. There you go. Perfect.
Okay. So I bought a Makita drill screwdriver, and then left it under the piano bench for maybe 2 months. At which point I thought, this came in a box that had been retaped. So obviously someone must have taken it back. So I'm going to go in and see if all the parts are there and if the battery is working, and find out how this works. And it just looks like you push on and off button. Okay, so I got a wonderful expert in the hardware store, and she took it out and said, yep, it's absolutely all here. Everything's put together. The light comes on. You're ready to go home. So I went home and the light came on, but the power didn't come on. So I waited another day and went back. And the person that met me in hardware said, I can tell you where everything is on the shelf, but there's a guy here in repair who knows how everything works. And so for me, the answer is to find your Mr. or Mrs. Tool guy, gal. It turned out the power light was not the power for the drill. So that was huge relief. And I came home and drilled my 4 drills to put the little brackets in for my bookshelf. And I thought, well, that's, who knows? Is that $100 a hole? I don't remember how much I paid for it. But that's the way I conquered that.
And are you using the electric screwdriver in piano work?
Well, that's my plan. I don't know why you can't do it with action screws. And
you can.
And there's this lovely little chart. So I can figure out exactly which screw I need and get the right bit and go in there. I think I'll even take my Starrett wire cutters and see if he can sharpen the blades on them for me.
Yeah.
So that's my terror and success of the week.
Terror and success. That's what we're looking for here, kids.
Oh, and I also wanted to say Leroy Edwards was talking with me about dampers one day, and he said, you know, just breathe, like you mentioned, but take the damper out of your piano, and using the piano as your guide for bending, you'll get it straight.
Yeah. Terrified. Okay, who else has a story of what terror and success?
Yep.
Come on.
There's a couple things in the chat here. So let's see here. Joshua Martell shares voicing. Those needles scare him, and the thought of ruining the hammers scares him as well.
So hey Josh, can you unmute yourself so I can ask you a question?
I think you should have capacity to unmute yourself, Josh.
Hey bud.
Hey, how's it going?
So when did you realize you had this tear? Talk about it a little bit.
I'm very new, and I have a sideway console, and getting parts for it, it's so old that even getting replacement parts is hard. So I'm being very careful not to break things or ruin things, hopefully.
So you don't want to ruin the hammers by sticking needles into them? Is that your fear?
Yeah. I know that some of the, if I unscrew something, I can put it back, but and if I break a piece of wood, I can probably glue it back together.
Yes.
But those hammers, if I ruin them, then they probably need to be replaced.
Then they're ruined. That's exactly right. So I love that you're vulnerable about this. I think it's really helpful to talk to your brothers and sisters. Where do you live?
I live in Central Illinois. It's just we've been pretty careful with COVID. And so there is a good community here, and I probably will get some sort of hands-on help soon.
Oh.
But it's been a little bit, in my cave hiding.
Well, that's another thing we're going to talk about. But yeah, as soon as you know, there's at least something toward your herd immunity and you're vaccinated and you can go and hang out with another piano technician that's vaccinated, go, you know, help to turn the terror into a success. Because I was afraid of voicing for the first 15 years of my career. And then I just started to do it and I fell in love. It's an incredibly powerful way to focus your attention and to use your brilliant magical ears. So
Yeah, another thing too is to consider, you know, we get people on these calls. There's a chat here. You can reach out. We have instructors that are you know, have taught about voicing. You could also reach out to someone and say, hey, can we set up a Zoom call? And I'd like to try some voicing. Could you just kind of be on the call with me and watch me so that I don't completely ruin things?
Yeah.
And, toss them a little cash or something like that. I'm sure that they either appreciate it or refuse it.
That's right.
So you don't even have to leave your cave.
That's right.
Thank you. That's an interesting idea. Thank you.
Well,
yeah, for sure.
For instance, Josh, I've taught, probably a dozen voicing classes all over the United States and one in Europe and a bunch in Canada. And if you emailed me or even if you called me, I'd be happy to talk to you, man.
Thank you. That's very generous.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. David's generally happy to talk, and he always has interesting and useful things to say. So,
plus, I'm a really good voicer, and I can help you. You know.
But yeah, and also there's these other folks too. There's
there's a ton of other
someone
folks.
like Steve Brady or Boaz Kirchenbaum or David Stanwood gave a lecture of voicing. There's a lot of interesting folks. At least those folks, especially that have put themselves out there in PTM, at least they're kind of open to sharing and want to put some time into it. So
yes.
Now I might get complaints from people, but I doubt it. Hey, Ethan, tell people to reach out to me. But actually, I doubt it.
That would be gauche. Another question you have, Ethan? Did somebody else?
Yeah, let's see. Somebody else said, Nancy Salmon said that she also finds damper work a Pandora's box.
Yes.
This also leads to delight if it all works.
That's right. Terror than success.
And actually, should we see if she has anything else to say about that?
Sure.
Nancy, do you want to share any further? Go ahead and unmute yourself if so. And then
yeah. I think the damper work is frightening because there are so many variables and sometimes they are so difficult to get at in the field. I do have another question.
Hope your audio froze, right? You getting the same thing, David?
I am.
Okay. Let's wait and see if she comes back. And I want to go on to Alan Eder too. Maybe Alan, you might unmute yourself because Alan said, where does this widespread irrational fear of dampers come from? So maybe he can quell our fears and cradle us in safety, and we can all move on with some feeling of confidence.
Shri Energy, please.
I'm not offering an answer, just a question.
Oh, it's just a question.
No, we want you to have an answer.
If I knew the answer, I wouldn't be asking the question, or I would.
There you go.
I'm asking you, Sensei, David. Where does it come from?
Where does the fear come from?
The fear,
It probably,
I can talk at length about where fear in general comes from, one of my favorite subjects, but where does the fear of damper work come from?
Oh,
I
it's
could say
too,
where it could come from for me.
yeah, I could say where it's come from me too. Go, Ethan.
Even in practicing for the PTG regulation exam and actually, passing it, but in the process, you know, looking at a damper wire that I had worked and worked and worked on for a long time and say, well, that looks pretty damn ugly, and just kind of seeing that that's a possibility that you can kind of get out of control, and then kind of get really lost. I think that's something like a memory of that happening, even if it was earlier on in the experience. I think that can, I think with some sorts of repairs, it feels like you get to repairs and adjustments, there's this point of no return you can get to. Tuning doesn't feel so much like that. Like I'm not going to go so far in one direction that it's way too sharp to bring it flat again. But I think the damper, at least the wire work, has that. And then beyond that, the irrational fear, well, I don't know if it's irrational, the fear of telling a client says, hey, this damper's not working right, it's making a weird sound, and kind of wanting to say, oh yeah, cool, I can take care of that, but then just like fiddling with it and messing with it, and then at the end of the day being like, I don't even know why that damper's doing that still. And then kind of having to deal with the follow-up, the collateral damage of, I don't know, I did everything I could think of and this damper still sounds funny. Those are the places where I think it would come to for someone like me. I don't know if you have any more insight, David.
Well, I'll just talk about. I hadn't thought about that, like where specifically it came from, what kind of story I bought into that made me that's career long fear. When I started in Atlanta, Georgia, and I had like a half a dozen other piano technicians that I that passed through the store where I worked and I knew, and